Hey guys, T-Bull here. Today we got to look at the kid on the map, Land of Fire, Domination Mode game. Halsey on the screen, we got Bay, we got Swirsky. That's a double concealment build. You can see the perks were kind of set up mainly focused on the guns. That's my USN Destroyer build in general. Particularly applicable to the kid because it's not really known for its torpedo power. Kid is one of those ships I see a lot of people online basically saying it's a pile of garbage or whatever. They hate the ship. I don't particularly agree with that assessment. I think it's a very strong ship in its role. It's a kind of a defined role type of a ship, but if you do understand what you're there to do, you stick to the game plan, then you can have a lot of success on this thing. Number one, you're there to capture control caps, extremely strong in that role. And number two, you're there to kill destroyers. That should be your main, focus, those two objectives. After that, you can, of course, focus on spotting and supporting your team in ancillary roles that way. People do get hung up on, the fact that it has one torp launcher. It's got a long reload on those torps, and I think it's like a 6.5 kilometer range on them. So, it's not a torpedo boat. If you're trying to find a torpedo boat to buy, don't buy the kid. If you're trying to buy a destroyer that can dominate other destroyers, this is it. I mean, a well-played kid, should be able to take down any other destroyer. If you get into a battle with someone who's got a sonar smoke combo, German, British destroyers, and they play them well, that can be an issue. But in general, I'm not really afraid of any destroyers in the ship. We spot the man right off the bat. We had AP loaded from the previous game. Switch it over to HE, and it's the Mayhan's similar in terms of USN gunboat characteristics. The key to the kit, though, you got heals. This is the one that Tactic came up with his famous Boss Dewey build, using George Dewey to get the extra heal. That's fine if you want to use that build. I know a lot of you guys do like to use that build on the ship. It's not for me. I like to use focus on the guns. The heals are nice, of course, but I'm not going to detract massively from the gun performance and the overall performance of the ship just to get an extra heal. Keep in mind also this ship has extraordinary AA, so most people don't actively try and shoot down planes. If you do know how to do that, this is a good ship to do it. But if we do ever get carriers, that'll also be another boon. We captured the cap, waiting for the Mayhem. We got some preemptive torps, seeing if we could hit him there. But he's coming back. We were just kind of waiting there, assuming he was going to challenge the cap. Took a nice wicked salvo, I think, from that battleship in the back. But we're gonna rush into him and just put him down very quickly. Pepper, pepper, pepper. I don't know what he was trying to do. Maybe he was trying to... Mayhan's similar. I don't know. I don't play the Mayhan too often, but it's got short-range torps. Maybe he was trying to rush those ships, torp them, then got completely wrecked in doing so. I don't know what his decision-making was, but we got rid of him. So now the option exists here. We got the destroyer killed over here. We got the cap captured. What do we do? Now your destroyer instincts might be kicking in. Ooh, battleships. Let's go back there and torp them. That's not what the kid's doing. We already talked about that. We're going to turn around. We're going to contest caps. We're going to kill destroyers first and foremost. Do that until you can no longer do that, and you're going to win a lot of games. If usually there's a cap to contest, usually there's a destroyer to kill. Once those are completed, your job's kind of done, then you fall back into a support role. But we're not getting bogged down with this torpedo into battleship broadside mentality that a lot of destroyers have locked down. And that's, if you're stuck in that mode of thinking, that's probably why you're having trouble with the kid, and maybe the U.S. destroyers in general. Here we got the Akatsuki popping up. Someone else he's actually shooting his guns. So we're going to try and finish him off, and we're going to, in combination with our team, kind of whittle him down as well. He does get away by the skin of his teeth, as we'll see here. And he ends up having an extraordinary game. I am going to be very critical of this player, or his decision-making in this game later on. That's not to criticize him in particular. Again, he had a very, very strong game, but one critical mistake, I think, ends up costing them the game. But he got the smoke down, he got broke line of sight and got away. You can see they're very, very low health, and he's going to be stuck at basically being a one-shot for the rest of the game. Good job on his part, though, if you kind of keep in mind the Akatsuki situation, disengaging, falling back, and then kind of letting the situation reset and then kind of living to fight another day. But if you get wrecked and you live to fight another day, actually try and do that. Don't just sit there saying to yourself, I got wrecked, this game's over. Let's try and do some sort of suicide push and then on to the next one. If you got to adopt the mentality, I'm not dead till I'm dead. The situation changed though. What can I do? How do I have to react to the change situation? We got these battleships pushing in here. I do want to get on B, of course, but we cannot push into this Scharnhorst, which is there. This is a bad play on my part here. And this is a play that I fall victim to and a lot of destroyers fall victim to here. The idea that I'm in the smoke right now, he can't see me. He's clearly coming at me. The Scharnhorst is a major threat to destroyers. Very good secondaries. He's got the Gneiss now with him, by the way. Also, similar situation. But battleships in general, once you can no longer spot them, and when you do not have the defensive torp threat, we got a long torp cooldown here. We cannot defend ourselves from battleships pushing in. So I need to basically disengage from him as soon as I recognize that I don't have torps to defend myself and he's coming towards me. You can see he's closing the distance very rapidly. And Scharnhorst is a very fast battleship. Gneisenau is a very fast battleship. Probably just a hair shy, slower than this ship. So we needed to get out of there. Plane spotting us now. We got torps coming in. We're trying to get behind this island as quickly as possible to avoid, losing the game here. Very close. We got 4 ships per side. Score is very close. We're flipping A. They got B. So we're going to have a cap advantage, but we don't want to be losing our team's last destroyer, especially with a dangerous Akatsuki running around. That's going to be feasting on these battleships if we can't provide any sort of support. But we're chased off by the Scharnhorst. We have no choice but to disengage around this island. Little tunnel vision here. I'm trying to, despite my long torp cooldown remaining, kind of setting up some sort of ambush here. So I think I'm kind of flustered in this sequence here and kind of misplayed. Lose track of the Gneisenau. As we try and get around this gap to do whatever the heck we were trying to do. He pops up, and now we're within 3 kilometers of his ship, so of course he proxy spots us with his target acquisition mod that most battleships will have, Tier 6 and Tier 7. We do pepper him with the AP. AP on the ship, very good against broadside battleships, if they're close range especially. You want to just be aiming up into the superstructure. But this last, minute, 2 minutes sequence, not the best. Destroyers, there's a fascination with all classes of ships being, getting as close to battleships as possible. Generally, you want to stay away from battleships. The closer you are to them, the more accurate their guns get. And there's the Akatsuki once again. But the closer you get, the more accurate the guns are, the bigger the threat, And again, if we don't have torps, which we're not going to have for about another half minute, there's no reason to be close to these. So rather, we had to use the island cover to disengage from the Scharnhorst, but once we did break that line of sight, we probably should have continued pushing east, trying to create some space. Gneisenau continues to proxy spot us. We're proxy spotting him while he's within 2 kilometers. But now that we're going to have the torps available, first up, we get away from him. We want to get out of that 3 kilometer range if possible and make it so he doesn't exactly know what we're doing. So I kind of fake going to the left here. Then once we drop the proxy spot, get out of that 3 kilometer range, then we turn back, got the torps ready. He's kind of not sure exactly what we're doing. We were last seen kind of turning north. Get the torps down. We should be hitting the speed boost to get past this gap as quick as possible. We don't want to get taken any massive damage as we're, letting those torps do their work. But, I don't know why. He doesn't really seem like he's reacting like he knows there's torps in the water. So the kids' torps, usually you want to be using them as a defensive measure. You don't really want to be wasting them. You don't want to be looking for torp opportunities. If the situation arises where you can use the torps, good, go ahead and use them. But don't deliberately put yourself in a situation where the mentality is, okay, I'm going to use these torps. I mean, you'll be able to do that once in a while, but that shouldn't be kind of the main goal. Akatsuki pops into C here, and you can see he's about to flip it. Now, the game is close enough where score is extremely important, so getting on that cap, maybe we should disengage from this Gneisenau now and go finish him off. I do want to get rid of this Gneisenau now, though. We do have an opportunity to shoot him protected. Yeah, we're spotted. The Akatsuki can see me shooting this thing, but I don't think the Gneisenau now can really return fire. Besides that, his attention is focused on the... Looks like he's got a Nelson pushing him and whatever that other battleship is. But we kind of should be focusing on that Akatsuki. Now, he's about to flip the cap. They're down a ship at this point in time. Spoiler alert, I'm gonna be the last ship alive. So for some reason he's 0.5 seconds away from capturing the base here and gets off. Whatever he wants to do, he couldn't wait half a second longer. Potentially, that's always a bad idea. You need to be getting the caps in domination mode. And again, I'm being critical of this particular player who had a very strong game, not trying to rip on the player himself. Ripping the decision making massively, though, because that changes what he's trying to do. He's got battleships, he's a destroyer. All he wants to do is torp battleships, run up the score. He's one ship away now from getting a Kraken, so personal glory over team strategy and focusing on the win. So I'm always going to be critical of that, whether I make the mistake, whether someone else makes a mistake. I'm going to point it out because it's a bad play and it should be weeded out from your kind of playbook. And because he made that play and because I recognize he made that play, I know exactly what he's trying to do now. But he's going to go for this battleship, all right? Because we know he's torping battleships. That's what he's doing. But why this is a problem, I would have to sit here on C for a full minute just to flip it back because of how close this game is and how contested it is. We know it's going to come down to score here. But that frees me up to push in here, support this ship. I also have the option to get on B, which is kind of also strongly on my mind. But there he is. He pops up again. We're able to get into range and find him and then eliminate him. So, yes, he got another torp salvo down on whatever this battleship is over there. Yes, he kills him. Yes, I think he probably threw the game. Maybe we still would have won, maybe not. But, going against a kid who's hunting you with twist and track, he probably doesn't have twist and track. Still would have been a bit of a problem for him. But, again, we would have had to sit on C, and then, depending on where exactly the score is at that point in time, we probably would have had to come over here and try and flip B as well. So it limits how they can respond to the situation by getting off of that cap and conceding the points. Because now, the second he did that, he's committing his team to having to win on kills. The problem with that is this ship down here, I think it's a Hood trailing me, who's going to get on C. I think he tries to flip it. But even if he doesn't try and flip it, at this point in time, they cannot possibly win the game as long as I'm not a bonehead. And you can see I'm trying to line up a torp shot, or at least seeing if it's available. So the potential is always there. You can always gamble that the guy on the enemy team's not going to go for the win. Just try and disengage, stay alive, win on score. Sometimes that gamble will pay off, but it's not a solid way to reliably win games. So unfortunately, as we'll see when the score comes up, he had a very good game, but it was poor decision making that came down there. So again, I'm not trying to harp on that player. Don't take it that way, but it was a very strong teachable moment, I believed, in my mind. So that's why I chose this game to highlight for you guys. Anyway, that's a look at the kid for you. Spoiler alert, it's not trash. It's a good ship. Hope you guys did enjoy it. If you did, please hit the thumbs up. If you're new to the channel, consider subscribing. There's a lot of World of Warships coming all the time. Questions, comments, leave them below. I do love to hear from you guys. And we'll see y'all later. All right, peace.